Warm up.
The owl hoots at midnight alone.
Warm up, warm up, warm up. And I am loading all the monitors.
Oh, that means I'm also going to share the link.
Next, will it be a pop-up? There. YouTube monitor is on. Facebook monitor is on. Reshare link is there. Hey Jay! Good evening.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm like thinking, should I pop it further up?
It does not matter.
Yeah. Did that work? Just enough, I think. I can now see W Flux. Adventure Time, not so much. There. So many.
And you know what?
I think there's still something missing.
Cthulhu? Didn't we have a Cthulhu? I can't remember if we got Cthulhu. Or did we not? Because we were like being like, ugh, we have too many Cthulhu things. Hey, Jed.
No, we have a Cthulhu, right? It has the madness thing. Or was that a different name?
I'm double checking. Because saying a Cthulhu game has madness is all the Cthulhu games.
That's true.
There is a Cthulhu Flux.
It's probably there. I can go quick. I can go check.
No, I think it's here. But then like Transformers, Star Trek. You can, if you really want to look, I would look at the bottom most. This is card games again. But yeah, it's too much work. No, wait, no, Toby, it's too much work.
Just checking.
Because we're still much work.
We're still warming up anyway.
Yeah, we have too many Flux sets. So we do have Cthulhu Flux. What else is missing? Fire Flux is here, no? Is it not? Oh, it's here. Okay. Firefly's here. Jumanji, Marvel Monster, Monty Python, Oz. Oh, we have Oz here.
Yeah, Oz is there.
The Star Flux, the Star Trek Fluxes, Zombie Flux. Well, it's just that I think it's just Cthulhu that's missing.
Okay.
That's not so bad. That's not so bad.
I see Kenny. I see Mina. I see Jay. And it's 9:10, so I guess we can start.
Give me a moment.
Okay.
I'm checking one last thing.
Hello, hello, everyone.
Yeah, okay. I have to load the script. Let me load the script.
And Jed. Hey, Jed.
Yes, he greeted much earlier.
And Andre.
Okay.
And starting. This is Toby. Behind the wall.
This is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted, not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us. We talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us again. We are about to spend 30 plus minutes talking about
We should try to keep it to 30 despite it being Flux.
Another game we love. And as you can see, we
seem to have a number of them. And we're missing one. It's somewhere else. I really think it's the bottom.
And the game is none other than Andrew Looney and Kristen Looney's Flux.
And we'll bring out our original set for this. This is like original Flux,
Mhm.
which makes no sense because it is the sun, the moon, and the cookie. Toby, what is Flux?
So Flex is a family-friendly party card
Wait,
game.
we're talking about Flux, not Flex.
What?
That's what you said.
I said Flex? No,
Yes.
I said Flux.
Yes, you did.
I said Flex. Oh, I'm so sorry. I said Flux. So Flux is a family-friendly party game where it's all about managing your hand and collecting sets of what is generally known as keepers in
Mhm.
hopes of accomplishing the given goal in the game. And the reason why I'm using quite general terms is because Flux is one of those games, well, one of the few games in the world where you only really learn how you'll win as you play.
Yes. So the most basic rules of Flux is every turn, you draw a card and you play a card. And these are the basic rules.
Mhm.
The problem and what makes it a Flux game is that there are opportunities to introduce new rules into the game that drastically change how it's played. And at the same time, that's the only way you will find out what the goal of the game is. So Toby's trying to figure out an arrangement that shows everything. I don't think it's going to work. Toby mentioned that you have keeper cards. So the most basic cards are keepers because you keep them in front of you.
Mhm.
And hopefully you get the right combination of keepers that match a goal card that is also active in play. And that's like the core fundamentals of Flux. So why do we have so many of them?
Mhm. Okay, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, the gameplay itself is quite simple. It's quite easy to dive into. For people who've never played anything ever, we've introduced this game and they've immediately gotten into how it's played within the.
Yeah,
within
we
the system.
definitely use Flux as a gateway game and also as a filler game, which is an episode that we will have to figure out eventually. And what we mean by filler is that they're quick games that you can play in between more complex games
Mhm.
with your gaming group during an extended gaming night. Because again, you're just going to teach them the basic rule is draw one, play one,
Mhm.
and we see how it goes from there.
From that basic rule, the game also has what we call goal cards, which allow you to determine how a game is won. And these goal cards range from having the correct set of keepers to, in some cases, even having the correct creepers.
Toby, what are creepers?
Creepers are the negative cards in the game. Creepers represent the cards you don't want to have. In the basic game, creepers include death and taxes, for example.
War.
But in other games, like in Marvel or in Jumanji or in Monty Python, they represent the more negative aspects associated in that franchise.
Antagonists.
Mhm.
So yes, Flux has a bunch of animals. Marvel has a bunch of Marvel villains.
Mhm.
Star Trek has a bunch of Star Trek villains, and we have
Zombie
multiple
Flux,
Star
of
Trek
course, has the zombies.
zombies.
And what makes it interesting is how the game slightly adjusts or changes depending on the franchise. For example, in Zombie, it's all about making sure you get rid of the zombies and not find yourself trapped by them. In Oz, it has a lot of things to do with traveling around, getting mixed up and jumbled around because of the. Oh my God! I was about to say whirlpool for some reason.
Whirlpool. No.
Cyclone.
Cyclone
Yeah,
and
the card was
tornado
a
is
cyclone.
acceptable.
No,
Yes.
but the card was Cyclone, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Star Trek, which interestingly has a mechanic that allows the different Star Trek Flux sets to be used together.
Yeah, that is the bridge expansion, which allows you to play with two enterprises. And what the bridge expansion really does is that it just gives you goals that takes advantage of the fact that you have two of certain cards.
Mhm.
It is hard to disassemble after because your only guide as to which Star Trek is which is the font, is the font of the text. If you can recognize on site TOS font versus TNG font, that's how it goes.
Yes. But the thing about Flux that's interesting is that while you have specific expansions like the bridge that allow you to mix stuff because they have goals that have featuring keepers from different sets, the game itself is flexible enough that you can mix two different Flux sets and play it's not necessarily the best thing to do.
We don't recommend it. We have not actually done it except for Star Trek.
It can make games last far longer than expected, but it's not that unthinkable given a lot of the effects of cards can be quite generic. And I don't use generic in a bad sense. I use it to represent that all these games have keepers, all these games have creepers. What some games don't have are the special things like, oh my gosh, I think we should talk about each one as briefly as possible as we can.
Okay, we shall try. And this is the challenge for the remainder of the episode. So this is Base Flux. This is an older edition of the Base Flux. The current edition of Base Flux, ironically, does not include creepers. And you have to buy the creepers separately as an expansion. I guess it was a way to make the game a lot more approachable.
Yeah. The basic game of Flux basically tries to play with the idea of things that come together. So you might, for example, have night and day. Or you might, for example, have cookies and milk.
Peace and love.
Yeah. So it's those type of concepts that you try to form to win your goal in Basic Flux.
It's pretty universal. It's a great gateway game. We still recommend it.
Are we going alphabetically?
I don't know. Just pick one. I will talk about it because you don't remember everything.
Monty Python Flux.
It's the easier one to distinguish because it is highly themed around Monty Python and the Quest for the Grail, but also makes references to the Monty Python TV show. So it doesn't necessarily introduce new mechanics, but it has a lot of singing involved or remembering lines from Monty Python and other silly things.
By remembering those quotable lines, you actually gain better ground in this game. But even if you're not a super Monty Python fan, it's still playable.
It's still pretty fun. It's just that you will have difficulty with certain cards that will ask you to recite entire sketches, and I will
sing certain.
I will never get tired of singing elements of reciting elements from the Dead Parrot sketch. And if you don't know a song, there is always Spam, whose initial lyrics consist of spam, 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 spam. Okay.
Drinking Flux.
Drinking Flux. We haven't really played this one a lot. It adds an optional drinking mechanic where that causes people to take shots while you play.
It also includes a disclaimer warning you that the consumption of alcohol must be done responsibly.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's like it was an attempt to like add a little pun intended flavor to Flux, but it's definitely not one of the essential ones to have. Okay. It's really the drinking mechanic is optional.
Jumanji Vlogs.
This is one of our newer ones, and it's a special edition that comes with a coin.
Coin
with no real mechanical purpose. It's like you can give it to the first player, but not really matters. Jumanji Flux
introduces traps and dangers.
Yeah, which really ties to the movie, but in our experience, does not play well with two players because there's they sort of have like global threats that challenge everyone, and if it's just the two of you, then you're really just antagonizing one another. So it's okay, but definitely for bigger groups.
CN Flux.
Cartoon Network Flux is really a kiddie-friendly Flux. It features popular characters from the classic Cartoon Network era. It has no creepers. I don't think it even has surprises. It's very simple.
But it's meant to be a game that you can play with your kids. It allows you to celebrate the joys of the different Cartoon Network shows and characters.
Yeah, but I was really expecting more. Like, because sometimes keepers have special powers on their own. This set, no, it's barely anything. It's really just art.
It's just set collection.
It is one of the kiddiest Fluxes ever. But I got them because I like cartoons. Okay.
Marvel Flux.
Marvel Flux, definitely, it's just a Marvel superhero themed one. It still has classic stuff like surprises and the like, and you still have creepers naturally as the villains. The art is kind of unique. It reminds you of the movie, but not quite. It reminds you of the comics, but not quite. It's still pretty cool, but I think it is not the best superhero themed set that we have.
And I was kind of hoping for more powers. I was kind of hoping for more twists, which this one really, I guess, missed the mark in terms of capitalizing on that.
It also comes with a collector's coin if you got it from Amazon. The coin still serves no purpose.
Comparing that, of course, to Doctor Who,
Doctor Who Flux is definitely one of my favorite fluxes because clearly they learn from things like Oz Flux
Mhm.
and have a lot of like time vortex cyclone cards that shuffle things around.
Doctor Who really tried to capture a lot of the themes of the show and the brand.
It celebrates all the iterations of the Doctor up at the point of its release. And since it didn't know who would be the next Doctor after Capaldi,
It keeps it a silhouette.
it left this silhouette for the last Doctor or the 13th Doctor.
But
So
at the same time, since it is tied to the show, when
there
you
are
have
a lot of creepers.
and when you have keepers in the game who are the Doctor, you cannot all have the Doctor in play.
Oh my god, the Blipowicz effect. It only allows one Doctor to be in play at any time. It's fantastic. I mean, this is definitely a set made with love. The cards have so many references to the show, and not just the current generation, but like the whole thing.
Mhm.
It's a great set. We love that
It
set.
even utilizes companions in a fun concept way.
Yes, yes.
Our favorite is Oz Flux.
It's surprisingly why we super got into Oz
Mhm.
Flux. So it's a good mix of it has surprises, it has creepers and the like. But I don't know, the flavor of Oz Flux
Mhm.
just rings true so well. The goals that they came up with, some of the card text that appears,
Mhm.
naturally that freaking cyclone that was the first of many cards that shuffle all your cards together.
Mhm.
Um, it's a fun set. It's a really fun set, and I'm surprised at how much we enjoy it.
Batman Flux.
This is the superior superhero Flux because in Batman Flux, as long as there are any creepers in play anywhere, nobody wins because you're supposed to be the superheroes and you must defeat the villains.
Mhm.
And it is all done in the Batman animated series style. Very, very Timiverse, Bruce Timiverse. Oh my
Mhm.
god. It's a fun set. Yeah, it's just
The
a good set.
gadgets shine in this one. The villains are beautifully designed as well. Well, in terms of how they act as creepers.
Yeah, but then it's a if you like that cartoon series, then it definitely celebrates that.
For a while, this did not exist, so the closest we had to Star Trek was
Star Flux, which was the generic science fiction flux that made
Mhm.
you feel like you were kind of playing Star Warsy,
Mhm.
Star Trek-ish, but not quite. And it's clear that a lot of the cards that were conceived here were re-implemented
yes.
in the Star Trek fluxes.
This game, of course, homaged or referenced all these other.
Yeah,
shows
it's
we
not
love.
just Star Trek.
So
That's
it's
the
a
thing.
lot of filed down titles. I forgot the term for the Jedi Knight. I think it was Pacifist Warrior.
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
Like that.
So here, like the red shirt is called the Expendable Crewman. It
Mhm.
has a surprise card called It's a Trap. And it has, of course, a gold card, That's No Moon.
Mhm.
So without actually citing any of the franchises.
Or having to pay licenses.
Yeah. It worked out pretty well. It was a good flavor.
Zombie Flux.
Zombie Flux is unique that it was the first Flux that introduced ungoals,
Mhm.
which was a goal that, if played, sets a condition for everybody to lose.
Mhm.
And that was really tied to zombies overwhelming
Yes.
everyone. Not bad. It's a pretty fun Flux. We haven't played it in a while. And things like shotguns, chainsaws. I mean, it's all about different ways to kill zombies and zombies dressed as different occupations.
Mhm.
Still definitely one of the earlier fluxes. Still fun.
Monster Flux.
Wow, this doesn't stand out in my memory as much. It was a little vanilla. It
Mhm.
was just a horror monster themed.
And again, it feels like a younger audience targeted one.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
It kept it simple. It kept it quick to flow.
And then, like, I think like when they were released with these pull tabs, see the CNN the Cartoon Network Flux had the same box style, so it was like, okay, cool.
Adventure Time Flux.
Adventure Time Flux, while still aimed at children, I feel is still more interesting than Cartoon Network Flux because I think they really stressed the fact that they're friends.
Mhm.
And Adventure Time Flux has a lot of things where like Finn pulls Jake, and then the princess pulls whatever, and all these things. So there's a lot of character jumping around.
A lot of character related connections and powers.
I can't remember if it has creepers. I think it does not. I think it was one of those because
Yeah.
it was toned down.
And it was one of those without the creepers, then plays very quickly and ends.
Not appearing right now is there is a Cthulhu Flux, which is actually not bad as far as Cthulhu themed games are concerned.
Mhm.
It obviously had creepers. It had a madness sort of element. There were investigators and there were whatever artifacts. But again, it's one of like many Cthulhu things. If you are not into the stories of H.P. Lovecraft, it is not as amazingly fun.
Mhm.
But it's still good.
Okay, and then we have
We should do
Um,
this one first.
the franchise ones.
But we already did Doctor Who. Firefly Fox, not bad.
Okay, that's
Flux.
like
Yeah, I
you
know.
said.
I'm so sorry. It's a tongue twister. But I think this really stands out because the overall treatment of the cards, they
Mhm.
gave it this faded look. It definitely homages the series. We have bought the expansions so that you can have the annoying iterations of Mrs. Reynolds. Yeah, so we have a bunch of her, and it's so annoying because if you can find her, I know I have her in front. But then it's like
Yes.
basically no, but there's Bridget, and then using the same card art, there's Saffron, and then
Mhm.
the same card art. And so
Yes.
it's so
Here.
beautiful,
Saffron.
frustrating. It's just her over and over again, but it makes sense to Firefly fans.
The game has its own set of creepers. The game also tries to grab the feel of the show, similar to Adventure Time, wherein there's all these little powers that interconnect. And
Yeah, and
let
then
you-
things like there's the loot. So if you want to do the train job, then you'll
Mhm.
need the loot and stuff. Jane and his guns, blah. Good references, nice styling. Okay. The Star Trek Fluxes, I must admit, is really more about collecting because you love the franchise and not because each is super amazing, distinct.
Mhm.
So far we have the original series, the Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine. Is there a Voyager set? Yes, it's on pre-order. We will
Yes.
get it eventually. The original series and and TNG get to link together using the bridge expansion, and the only reason for that is both of them have a card for phaser, both of them have a card for the computer, for the transporter, and certain things like that. So it plays with that, and so you have goals like having an old style and a new style Romulan cruiser, an old style and a new style Klingon battle cruiser.
Mhm.
Cute. The Deep Space Nine one is distinct on its own. It doesn't connect thematically as tightly, but it just features a lot of great Deep Space Nine characters.
Yeah, many of them again have their unique powers depending on the card. Not all, but it is nice. It was nice how they tried to make sure the characters stood out in that way.
I like universally things like the computer. If in all these iterations, if there is a computer card, it increases your hand size by 1.
Mhm.
If there is a phaser, it can let you kill a creeper. So
Mhm.
there's like some fundamentals they did across the sets, and then it features a very distinct art style. I don't know if it's super visible there, which is cute, which is kind of cute. And yeah, so it all ties together, and I am obviously a Star Trek fan, so we're still getting them one after the other. Ha!
So
Is that all our fluxes? I guess it is. I'm double checking our list, but I think that's all the fluxes we own.
having gone through that, there are still many other fluxes that are out there that we have not even mentioned.
We never got the pirate one. I don't know. I wasn't super into pirates.
To just quickly go through the list of stuff we don't have, there's anatomy flux,
Oh, the science ones?
astronomy flux,
Yeah.
chemistry flux, there's fairy tale flux, there's family flux, there's Rick and Morty flux, of course.
Oh no, I didn't know
There's
that.
Flux, the board game.
Uh-oh.
There's Holiday Flux. There's Martian Flux. There's Math Flux. And that's only 2 of the 4 pages in Board Game Geek so
Yeah, I
far.
don't know why there are so many, I don't know, education ones. But hey,
Nature,
it's a Mensa Select.
Pirate. Well, there's the Star Trek ones, which we already got. Stoner Flux.
Oh, I didn't touch Stoner. Yeah. So, yeah. So again, I asked the question. I will repeat the question I asked earlier, which we didn't quite answer. Why do we have so many fluxes?
So, having heard about all the different types of flux, I think we have so many fluxes because we just one enjoy the game. We enjoy seeing how the cards interact. We enjoy being able to have very quick sessions. Flux can be played from 2 to 6 players. It doesn't matter how familiar you are with the game. Anyone can still win. We've had first timers win in the first round because they already got the cards they need to win. It's a game that will probably annoy people who think that playing is all about winning or playing is about strategy. But if it's just about having fun and seeing who wins this round, this is an awesome game to play.
Ultimately, Flux, owning many sets of Flux is like owning many types of dice or pairs of shoes. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a little something for everyone. There's just different flavors that you want to try.
Mhm.
So if you are playing with a bunch of comic book friends, then maybe the Marvel set is the way to go. If you're playing with a bunch of Star Trek friends, then Star Flux or any of the Star Trek Fluxes
Mhm.
are a fun entry point. If you have kids, then Cartoon Network and Adventure Time. I mean, things like that. So admittedly, our Flux choices represent franchises we love.
Mhm.
With like slight outliers, like I don't think we fully expected what Oz Flux was gonna be like.
Yes.
And Oz Flux was just, I don't know, for the time it was the Flux we kept playing because the cyclone just messes you up.
It was the flux we kept playing. It was the flux we kept recommending.
Yeah. Because it gave a good sample of like all that Flux had to offer. And it was just very, very creative. But then what the pro and con of the Flux world, and I will jump out briefly, is that there have been a lot of expansions released like as promo cards.
Yeah.
And I have still, so now that these are here, I can integrate a lot of these promo cards. So things like the RoboDoc for Star Flux and the like. And the only reason why I haven't integrated them is because we don't bring all of them out all the time. It's hard
Mhm.
because any Flux is a good game. They travel well.
Mhm.
They are great at events. We feel because again, it's just super easy to teach. The games are highly random, but the randomness is the great equalizer,
Yes.
and it doesn't feel as annoying random as a paradise. Like because it's not because you still have some degree of strategy that you have to figure out based on the cards you have in your hand.
Mhm.
Are you going to play the hand limit card, which will also reduce your hand limit, but potentially wipe out the good cards that other players have? I mean, that's really up to you. All these things.
A typical game of Flux can last anything as short as 1 minute to as long as 30
I
20
wouldn't
minutes
say
to an hour.
one. I would say at least 5.
Well, 5 is the written minimum, but we've had games where
No,
within the
because you
first
can only
round.
play one card. So I don't, and the round is not a minute.
Okay, that's true.
That's my contest. I'm just being accurate here. So
Mhm.
5 minutes is possible. It's possible to win in the first round. It's possible to take a bit longer, but I don't think it's very rare you'll see a Flux game. I think hit 30 minutes,
Mhm.
even with a full table of players, because the sheer number of cards that are out, someone's gonna win.
Mhm.
Someone is bound to win.
The more players, the more interesting it gets because you see a lot of things bouncing here and there. You have rules that affect how many cards can be drawn. You have rules that affect how many cards can be played. Some
Rules how many cards you can hold and how
some-
many keepers you have in front of you.
Yeah, some cards even tell you that you have to play all the cards in your hand, and suddenly order now matters because you might play cards to put your keepers down, and then your next card says throw away everything that's in play.
So you have to think. You got to be careful.
You might have cards that force you to discard your hand, and worse, rules must be applied the moment they're played. So if you play, for example, a card that says hand size down to 1, even if everyone else has 5 cards in their hand, they have to discard that very moment down to 1 card. And it's a fun, unexpected moment. It's fun, unexpected moments like that which make the game really, really fun.
Yeah, it's the new rule cards are like the fundamental driver of Flux, I
Mhm.
feel. It's what makes Flux. And the fact that anybody can introduce cards during their turn, it's pretty phenomenal.
Mhm.
Things like the surprises, which was like an interrupt in Magic. It's a card that you can play out of turn.
Mhm.
Added a little variety, but in my experience, not essential. I mean, you can still play surprise cards on your turn for awesome effects.
Mhm.
And it still works out that way.
The game also has that joy of being something fun to experience as you're getting to know it. While most board games, there is that feeling that you have to know every card, you have to read everything you can so you understand and enjoy the game better. Flux, the joy is in discovering what effects happen the moment you get the card. We've had all these moments where we draw the card and then one person starts laughing and we're like, oh god, I can't wait to see what that card is because I hope they'll play it. You have cards that rotate hands, so suddenly the perfect plan you have is gone because all the cards have gone somewhere else. And you even have cards that collect everything that's in play, shuffle it, and then redistribute it randomly. And
Variations being the cyclone and the
Mhm.
time vortex and whatnot.
so yeah, so if you want the joys of unexpected twists, if you like the humor of people doing this and that, and oh my god, is that a card that actually uses the coin?
Yes, because it's a Two-Face card for the Batman series, and we have a Batman coin that comes with it. It's very thin. It is just Batman and the DC logo. But yeah, it's super. It's a chippy pie
Yeah.
coin. It
I'm
has a
surprised it
decent
didn't go
coin.
Two-Face though, with a scratched Batman face on one side. And
Nah, because it's not. I mean, you'll need it for the Two-Face flip, but it's not like the only reason why you'd want the card. So it's okay. They're just super cute.
So we're down to the last 4 minutes. So what? I think it was I forgot who asked it, but someone asked what would be expansions we hope to see for Flux.
Oh no! It's sticky material. Okay,
Well, that's because it's Playface.
that makes sense.
Oh,
It's okay.
Hopefully, I'll be able to fix that.
No, yeah, just rub it off. It's just that some of the expansions were released as like sticker sheets, so some of the cards are literally sticky.
Okay.
Oh well. Okay. Fluxes we wish for. Admittedly, I reached the point where, darn, we got a lot of fluxes,
Mhm.
and I don't know if there's a franchise that I'm particularly looking for.
Not even
Mina,
good?
no, I don't know. I don't know if this is the environment for it. Mina was like saying a wacky racist flux would be nice,
Oh,
and I
that's a
think
nice one.
that might fit. Although I don't know what your creepers would be. Maybe road hazards or
Mhm.
traps by Dick
I'd love to
Dastardly.
see a Steven Universe one, and
Oh,
then
that
you could
could
have
lend itself
then
well.
you can have cards that create
Well, I'm sure the fusions are going to become
yes
goals.
fusions. So that would be an interesting one.
I'm thinking what else. I mean, like, well, we already have Star Trek. I wouldn't
Mhm.
mind to see Star Wars get into the action, but it depends. I mean, but we already got a Marvel Flux, so it's possible, right? So
I think
same owners.
I think something that would be nice, but probably impossible due to cost, would be an MTV Flux. So it's all about bands and having people play together.
Oh my god, that sounds like a licensing nightmare.
Yes, but can you imagine? You could like have you'll have something that says "We are the world," and if you need 5 specific keepers who are 5 specific musicians, or you have Under Pressure and it's David Bowie and actually it's Under Pressure, which is Annie Lennox and
I mean, okay, I can see where you're going with this, but also very difficult because not necessarily a lot of interactions and the like. So that's a tricky part. Yeah.
yes, Mitch, daming Flux.
So yeah, and this is also like we're just happy to show off our Flux collection, and also just oh my god, our Flux collection is kind of big. I'm a little concerned now that we have this many because like I don't remember playing Monster Flux anymore.
Mine says with singing. Yes, if there was an MTV Flux, that would be so fun.
I think MTV Flux sounds like wasn't there a musical a show segment called MTV Flux? Not to be confused with Liquid Television. I don't know. It sounds like something that they would do, right? That there was like with MTV Flux. So things like that. Wow, I thought we would have more to say, or at least
I'm surprised that Flux does not have an LGBT inspired one so far.
a Pride Flux,
Yeah.
Because I
Or
guess they're
rainbow unicorn.
family
or
oriented.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't released anything that was.
They can always argue that the base set has peace and love, and that's close enough. I don't know. I think one thing I guess to as we run out of time is that you also gotta appreciate the creeper element. So the definition of creeper cards is that by default you cannot win the game as long as you have a
creeper
creeper.
in play.
And the creepers are also thematically appropriate. Hence, death and taxes in the base game,
Mhm.
to the Borg in the Star Trek one, to the Daleks in the Doctor Who one.
Mhm.
But then, because there are still goals that tie to creepers and let you assemble, um,
Mhm.
combinations that involve creepers, then there's still a chance to win. So then,
If you find a way to get the correct set that has that creeper involved.
so you can't really like discount any card in the
Mhm.
set. It is possible to win with any of them. I mean, even in Batman Flux, where the presence of creepers at all make it a problem. But there's the way like you can Arkham Asylum them and then they get put out of the game temporarily or stuff. And then there's still combinations based on villains that you have. So I just like this. I like this diversity, and it's why we keep coming back to Flux. Now I'm
Mitch-
going to redocument all the sets we have.
Mitch asks, walang big box for Flux? No. Surprisingly, we have not seen any.
But it's also because, again, the default state, they don't necessarily recommend mixing them up.
Because that will definitely make games last much longer than normal.
Because it will be harder to get the right combination of goal cards to win. Because your goal cards are still set specific. So, not the best idea. All right, Toby, last thoughts on Flux.
If you are interested in Flux, there is a digital app version of it online. So you might want to make that your initial purchase just to get a feel if you like it. I only advise that because, as Rocky mentioned, Flux is like shoes. The moment you get started, it's hard to resist when you see another one that you find yourself drawn to because of the content or the franchise.
I don't see a lot of local game stores carry Flux variants to the degree that we have them, though. I must admit.
I think it's because many stick to social deduction as the games that they would rather celebrate, if not dexterity games.
Admittedly, most of these we got in Singapore.
And unfortunately, Flux, bottom line, is a game that will require reading.
That's true. That's true. There is still a reading component to Flux. And there is a reason why it is a Mensa Select game, right? Because it does require quick thinking to really run with it.
That's an interesting thought. Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland Flux. I think it could work.
Yeah, I'm surprised there isn't any.
It depends on the rights.
I think it's now open source because I know Alice in Wonderland is an open source thing now.
Their depiction though will just have to be very far away from like Disney depictions and stuff. And I feel like anything distinctly Disney, unless you have permission, people just stay away like the plague because their legal team is amazing at protecting their intellectual property.
Yeah, eventually though, everything will be Disney.
All hail.
So yeah, those are my final thoughts on Flux. How about you?
Yeah, I mean largely the same. Flux is my default. Like if we just finish a big box game like Caverna, Suburbia, or whatever, everybody is like kind of conked out from that one game. And then, but you still like, you want the game night to keep going because the longer you delay in a game night, then the more people are gonna just take a break and stuff. So I will always say, you want to play a round of Flux? Or sometimes I won't even ask. I will just throw a box onto the table. Let's play Oz Flux.
Yeah.
And it's a good, quick game. And you'll typically not just play one round. I find that there will always be the eagerness to play 2 to 3 rounds.
Yes.
Because once people kind of get a feel for it, then they're going to want to see if they can win. But they have no true control because of the randomness of everything. And it's great.
Andre has a suggestion, but
Harry Potter Flux.
given the creator, I now have doubts whether I'd support that.
That is true. That is true. But it's definitely a franchise that could lend itself well to it.
And if ever you do search or try to hunt out the Flux games, be aware that Flux, the board game, still has the standard idea of you learn and change the rules as you play, but it's very different from this.
We do not have the board game.
It plays with a tableau of cards laid out like a board, and then you have tokens that move around. So it's very, very different from these Flux games.
Yeah, but and then I still go for them. If you ever decide to order, you should look at the Looney Labs website itself because especially things like these promo cards, they sell a lot of them for like 99 cents a pop. So it really encourages you to just go get them.
Especially considering if you look at other markets, people might be jacking up the price, thinking these are rare cards, and they'll try to charge
Go
you.
to Looney Labs first.
Yes.
It is a good deal. There are promo cards I never heard of. It's just annoying that a lot of the promo cards are that they're on a sticker sheet. So we now have Clayface, who has clearly been through a transformation, but that's okay. It's all good. It all plays the same.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. That is our episode on the many fluxes that we own. But that was definitely more than 30 minutes. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you will join us again next time.
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. Kenny suggested this episode, so thanks for the suggestion. It forced us to dig them out, and now I get to take pictures of them for my photo archive of our games. I have a photo album of every front and back box cover of our games as much as possible, but I have not finished documenting the fluxes, so thank you for that. You can follow us on Twitter. Somewhere here is all Toby No Shade, and then I'm RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com. It has all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Yep. And then, of course, feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. Let us know if you, have you played Flux? Is there a Flux that you're aiming for? Is there a Flux game you can't forget? And, of course, subscribe to notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Quick last comments. Jed's like, sound it could work over Zoom and iPhone. Not really. It's a card game, so you need to have the cards. So you can't just zoom the cards for each other.
Yeah, but again, there's a digital app, so you might want to check out the app at least if you want to try to play it.
Yep. And there we go. So again, this is Rocky.
And this is Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.